To my fans, listeners, and incidentals, it is Florida here, but I have to wear a jacket because it is cold. South Florida, to be exact. Not this past Friday, but the Friday before, that was the first time I had to scrape my windows down in South Florida, in Palm Beach County. It's that cold. So, and for those of you who are like, well, climate change, this is exactly what it is. The climate change, the warming of a climate creates hotter summers and colder winters. But not here to talk about that. There's plenty of nonsense going on in the United States government that we can all have 5 minutes on, right? One thing, those Epstein files, they're taking down a bunch of people around the world, a bunch of important people, right? My favorite part is that the president of Poland has initiated a huge investigation into this whole Epstein thing, because he thinks that there may be some Polish individuals that were victimized by Epstein, and that he thinks that there may have been some American individuals that helped Epstein victimize those Polish victims. So he is investigating. He's going to request the United States government to hand over all the documents that they have so they can do their own thorough investigation, unlike United States government. So I'm hopeful that will give a international push to release more documents and bring those to justice that need to be brought to justice, the pedophiles. And last week I formalized the hypothesis that the entire Epstein files are in custody of the government of Israel. And I came to that conclusion by reading through not many, but I pulled up maybe 20 files that detailed Epstein and Ehud Barak, the former Israeli intelligence minister, and their close relationship over the years, and run it through ChatGPT and Gemini for analysis. And my hypothesis was that the Epstein and Ehud Barak, they worked together on behalf of Israel to collect as much data as possible on prominent, wealthy people, the leadership from the world, in the form of these videos that they will record of them while committing rape, and sending them off to Israel as an ammunition for blackmail for further whatever happens down the road. So my other premise was that Gaza genocide is going unchecked because Israel has all these compromising videos on all these leaders around the world, and most of them are keeping their mouth shut, or most of them are not really doing anything about stopping Israel from committing genocide. But in any case, there's definitely a connection between Ehud Barak and Epstein and how they gathered all the information. Like I said, all you have to do is just go into the Department of Justice website, pull down a bunch of emails, and read through them and see how often they've communicated, at what interval, at what level, where they met. And it becomes very apparent that it was an operation that was meant to gather blackmail data. So, think what you want to think. The evidence is there. You just have to parse through it. Morning. And every day more evidence comes up. More people at the highest levels of various governments around the world are getting taken down. The prosecutions are starting in various countries of all these individuals who are accused of hanging around with Epstein. And even after Epstein was found already guilty of child pedophilia, right? In 2008, he was already put in on the sexual offender list for pedophilia. And then in 2010 or 11, I believe, judge made that a permanent, because he was such a vicious pedophile. The judge made him a permanent for life sexual predator. And yet, from 2011 to as far as 2018, there was prominent individuals who are still communicating with Epstein via email, having meetings, inviting him over their homes. He was inviting them over his home. So these people clearly didn't give a shit that he was a pedophile, didn't give a shit that he had a criminal record, didn't give a shit that he was put on a lifetime list of being a sexual offender. They interacted with him. They had fun. From the emails, you can deduce that they were actually very cordial relationships. I get it. I had a friend who was accused of something bad and they wanted to support him in some way, but if I find out a friend is a real piece of shit, like Epstein, I mean, how do you support that? Not me. I can't support that. So, yeah. Anyway, but that's it. So my original premise was that Epstein was working for the Israeli intelligence, for the government, to collect blackmail information to keep these people in check so that Israel can do whatever they want in the future. They are doing that. So now imagine if the president of the United States was all over the files, right? He's not in the most recent files, but he's in the files from about 2014 and prior to that, right? He's there. There have been multiple lawsuits filed against him by multiple women that named him and Epstein together as committing all these atrocious acts of violence against women and children. Then yes, he's in there. It's beyond reasonable doubt for me. I don't know. Maybe if you guys think I'm crazy, maybe MAGA is going to come up with something great to defend him, but the evidence is just too circumstantial to say that he's not guilty, right? There's one lawsuit, and every time somebody says something stupid, I post the 2 pages of the lawsuit where he is named as a perpetrator of rape of this one minor girl and then a child, a 12-year-old, on 4 different occasions. And Trump was really mad when they released that file because he didn't want public to see that file. Even though that case never came to trial, it never went beyond filing because obviously, just like Epstein, he quashed a lot of these filings, a lot of these cases, as what he does, right? He uses the legal system as his own personal defense, right? That's all he does. He files things, he sues people, and that's how he gets away with everything. So imagine a 17-year-old girl who files a lawsuit against him versus a billionaire with unlimited resources, and then with friends with other billionaires with unlimited resources. Where do you think that's going to go? Right? Been some kids that were killed. People were killed. Some of them committed suicide because they couldn't take it anymore. And we have that guy sitting in the Oval Office. No, thank you. Yours. Okay, let's see. I got a Kip Terry. Well, sir, you are as fucked up as your video. Okay, so there you go. So that is a standard reply from someone who is protecting Trump, someone who is a MAGA. So see, Kip Terry, IHC. If you want to take a look at that name right there, that's someone who is protecting pedophiles, defending pedophiles. Those are the kind of people who have no problem with being friends with Trump or Epstein. So, because my video is fucked up. Yeah. Because you didn't take 5 minutes to look at the stuff that's posted on the Department of Justice website, right? You don't care. So, the mass delusion from the MAGA side is just, it's mind-boggling. My brain can comprehend how you guys, the MAGA side, you look at all this evidence, and it's literally court-filed, publicly available documents, and you're like, well, no, that's fake news. Like, everything is fake news. The people who claim to be a party of law and order look at documents from Law and Order, like, no, that's fake news. It's like, what's the point of even having a discussion with MAGA about anything if everything to them is fake news, if everything to them is some kind of criminal conspiracy or some kind of a far left-wing conspiracy to smear Trump, he does that shit all well to himself. Posting a little racist picture of the Obamas this past weekend, that was fake. That was him, right? Or maybe it was his pastor that he endorsed, he retweeted. So that's the kind of person he is. He's been a racist all along. Everyone around him that is close to him has said that he's a racist. He keeps saying racist things. He keeps calling out countries where predominantly people of color live. He calls them shithole countries. When there was these 5 men who were, they were being tried for raping a woman in New York many years ago, and they were all black. One was white. He took a 1-page ad, I believe it was in the New York Times, to call for their execution, even though they turned out to be, it wasn't them, right? But that's what he's always been. He lost a massive lawsuit against the DOJ with his housing back in the 80s, with his housing developments, where he wanted to restrict what people could live in his housing, in his apartment complexes, right? He wanted to base everything on race, and then he got denied. Right? He lost. He had to pay some money. He's been cheating people out of money his entire life. That's how he operates. He doesn't have any remorse because he is a sociopath. He doesn't care. He simply doesn't care. Nothing affects him. So like, death doesn't affect him unless it's his own, right? But nobody else's death or demise or troubles affect him. He doesn't give a damn about one single person in his life. And MAGA crowd is out there cheering him on. Yeah, that's my president. And it's your criminal president. It's a rapist, found in court to be a rapist. I'm not gonna even read the comments because let's see. Yeah. Let's see. The Central, let me read the comments actually. The Central Park 5. Yes, that was the Central Park 5 who were found innocent. And here's OMG, somebody says, I am clueless. I am clueless? Well, have you went into the Epstein files? Have you read them? Have you looked at them? And then another one. Here's another MAGA. You are full of bull, sir. Yes. Raymond, are you MAGA? See? Vote red to keep America safe and make the working class richer. How are you going to make the working class richer if, first of all, there is the working class right now has to deal with increased prices due to tariffs, right? That's another MAGA thing, is that MAGA doesn't fucking understand what a tariff is. Like they're like, the brains are incapable of realizing that tariff is a tax on them, right? It's there that you and I pay, right? That's what a tariff is. How are you going to do that, right? And I get that there's this whole scheme that if you put on massive tariffs and you keep telling people that, oh, China's paying for everything. No, they're not. Everybody knows that they're not. Even the Secretary of Commerce said that that's not really how it works, but in the long term, that's what it's supposed to curb the influx of Chinese goods and improve the American job market, right? So we can make more stuff here. Really? How are we gonna improve our market if the entire Republican Party is against raising wages for people, right? And living in a capitalist country, if you understand what the definition of capitalist country is, to extract as much worth from labor as possible. So what is a benefit to any company to raise wages for anyone? There's no benefit. They're only losing money, unless they can make so much more stuff in here that it makes sense. But we don't have the infrastructure for most things because, well, that was outsourced in the 80s, 90s overseas. To build back the infrastructure is going to take at least a decade. So Trump's going to be dead by then. So who's going to take over for him? Vance? And even so, Right now, I can go to the store and pick up some, let's say, some kind of electronic device that costs $10. It was made in China, right? Best case scenario, right now, that stuff with, let's say, with 100% tax, right, or 50% tax, that's going to cost $15 right now, right? It was 10 before Trump took over. Now it's costing me $50, okay? The American company can make that for 14 right now. So $14 is what they're going to be able to make it for right here, right? In China, they can make it for 7, sell it for 10. Here, they can make it for 14. But in order for that to be sold on the market, they have to raise the price, right? So now you're going to have a choice between a $15 Chinese-made product or a $17 American-made product. That's how capitalism works. That's the rule of capitalism. They're not going to give away stuff for free. Why would you give away stuff for free? And that's the round around going with MAGA. It's like impossible on every front. Every single thing that Trump does in their eyes is like what Jesus said from the Bible. It's nonstop. Just tired. It's like a psychological mind games. It's like listening to people who have zero interest in what's happening in the world. They worship Trump as their Jesus, Lord, Savior, Christ. And they just ignore facts, reason, law, everything. They ignore the fact that Trump is racist. They don't care. Why? Well, let you speculate on that one. They ignore the fact that Trump is even though he's rich, he failed most of his ventures, most of his businesses. They went belly up because he's an impulsive, crazy person that just comes up with, I'm going to do this, and then, this I want to do it. But people are telling him, no, that's not how we do it. That's not going to work. And eventually, he bankrupts a casino, a vodka company. You could sell your vodka in a casino. But yeah, somehow he's a genius. And currently, the only way he's making money, the only ways that his companies are profitable right now is MAGA's buying his stupid shit. Right, that's it. He keeps buying the Trump watch, Trump shoes, Trump Bible, Trump Constitution, Trump bucks, which all end up being crap. Or the Trump phone right now, the one that he's selling, the $150 phone for $1,000, and they haven't even delivered one yet. I mean, this is the great businessman, right? Now, he does probably have good advisors with him, but in the fashion that Trump always does everything, he probably ignores them. He may have fucking Harvard educated, Yale educated, Cambridge educated financial analysts and those guys who predict, how the world's gonna unwind, right? What the next technological trend is or the next trend is. He ignores all that shit, right? And he keeps selling pardons to criminals, right? Keep selling pardons. It's one thing if you want to pardon somebody, but it's another if you're pardoning people who are, let's say, flooding the United States with cocaine, like the former president of Honduras, right? I mean, MAGA's pretty silent about that, right? I haven't heard anybody say, well, that's a good thing. Well, what good thing is? What is it? By fucking, I can't. I'm working myself up here way too much than I should be. But that's the kind of person he is. And MAGA doesn't have a problem with that. I don't know, like, how is it you look at a person who's at a core and evil and pretty dumb? You're like, ask my leader, I'm going to follow this guy. I don't get it. Like, how do you explain that? And then he's using the DOJ as his own little personal lawyer, which DOJ should be separate from what the president says. But Pam Bondi, she's got his lips around his ass all day long, every day. And the only thing she says is, because I'm trying to fulfill the President Donald Trump's economic or whatever justice policy, or his way of addressing the world problems. Yeah, like making up fucking problems that don't exist and then trying to attack him, right? Like my favorite is when they they found the Antifa headquarters, or they didn't. They figure out that Antifa is some huge organization, and they arrested the girlfriend of Antifa or the former founder of Antifa. That was so stupid. Like, how can you be so stupid to actually believe that? Like, I'm Antifa, right? Anyone who doesn't like Nazis, fascists, is Antifa, right? That's basically what it means, anti-fascist. So, but yeah. Oh my goodness. This clown isn't even American. Here's another one. This clown isn't even American. So that's another one. That's another one that I love. It's like, why? Why am I not American? Because I sound a little bit differently? Have you fucking drove through Alabama or Tennessee? Fucking barely comprehensible English. What's wrong with mine? You can understand me fine. Maybe I have a slight accent or inflection in my voice, but it does not make me American. Yeah, go to Hawaii. They have an inflection. They have a voice. They're Americans, right? Any of the Native American tribes, they sound a little different when they speak. They're American. They're fucking more American than all of us. So, yeah. Yeah, that's another one. I'm not American. Yes, I am American. Have been for a very, very long time. Most of my entire adult life. Well, even child and entire adult life. So, I am. As an American, I'm going to say that the president is a clown and MAGA follows a clown. Let's see, Empress, me. You know they haven't read the PDF files. Of course, they had some. MAGA doesn't want to read the files where they're going to see that their favorite god is in the files, right? He's in the pictures with young girls, with children, putting his hands on young children. And the sneaky bastards at the DOJ, they didn't release the actual pictures, but they released the thumbnails. And then they put big fat blocks over faces and bodies of all these people. So like you can't even tell there's a person behind that, right? The only thing they really have to do is blur out the face, but instead they put a block across half the picture. So a lot of these pictures probably have Trump in them or other influential people with children on their lap, and those are blocked out. And because they're so small, it's going to become nearly impossible for anyone to look at the actual files unless they have the real physical full-size files, right? These files are like 32 kilobytes a piece, and they're what they actually done is they printed off all the thumbnails on a piece of paper, and they scanned in that piece of paper. So that tells you the level of what's the word? The level of either incompetence or purposeful evasion that the DOJ has committed in releasing these files, right? I'm sure there is some victims that don't want to be identified because they probably lived through shit. They lived through trauma, drama, and they don't want to be identified. And I get that, so blur out all their faces. But anyone who is not a victim, and Donald Trump is not a victim, he is the perpetrator, all those faces should be unblurred, should be unboxed, right? Remove the black boxes and post those pictures for everyone to see. Because I want the collective mind of MAGA to explode when they see the amount of material that Trump is in. Even though they're not going to believe it because he's their favorite leader and they cannot live without him. Well, he's got only a few years to live because he's old. He's in bad health. So what are you going to do then? Who's going to take over for Trump when he's done and gone? I'm curious. J.D. Vance, the couch boy, is he the one? Or maybe you want to elect that Jewish guy, Miller, right? The bold, crazy, psychotic Miller. He's probably even more psychotic than Trump. Like, that guy is creepy as hell. And everybody says that. You look at his eyes, he's got that. If you look at him when he's talking or even when he's staring, he's got this void in his eyes. There's emptiness. Like, he has absolutely no feeling associated with his body whatsoever. Zero feeling, right? He's almost like a classic picture of what a psychopath looks like. Sociopath, psychopath, antisocial personality disorder, just It's basically nothing, empty. That may be a replacement. They're thinking maybe one of the Trump boys. Um, no, Cokehead, Don Jr., maybe Eric. Eric hasn't been in the news a lot. Maybe there's something wrong with him. I mean, there's something wrong with all of them, but Ivanka, she's been avoiding the news. You have not heard about Ivanka for a long time. Now, Lara, on the other hand, is probably going to be singing today at the alternative Super Bowl racist thing, right? So, who else? Who else is there? Ramaswamy. You guys don't really like brown guys, right? So he's not going to be a president, because we saw what happened with Obama. Even though Obama didn't do shit to you guys started calling him racist names on the very first day he took office. I wonder what the future of the MAGA party is like. Not only they're fracturing among themselves right now, because there are some people in the Republican Party that are calling out Trump's bullshit. They're saying, even the Senate's president, right? Not the Senate, but the majority leader of the Senate, Thum, he even came out and said that the Constitution is the Constitution, and we're not going to be federalizing elections. That's not what the Constitution says. You first have to amend the Constitution. If you want to amend the Constitution, go right ahead. You know how the amendment works, right? 3/4 majority in both houses, and at least, let's say, 2/3 of the state governors have to approve that in order for the national constitution to be amended. So go ahead, give it a try. But unless you amend the Constitution, right now, we're having the states do elections. So, yeah, so there's a few Republicans that are calling him out. And him and his ICE tactics, right? It's not, maybe not so much him. He gives some kind of one-word direction to Kristi Noem, Poppy Killer Kristi Noem. And then she goes out there and she goes, "Here, go get him. Do whatever you want to do. We don't care." And unfortunately, those people do not have presidential immunity. They do not. And as soon as President Trump is gone, they are going to be prosecuted. All of them J6 people, this J6 terrorists that turned into supposedly ICE agents, are violating people's constitutional rights, violating United States citizens' constitutional rights, because they only look at them from the perspective of skin. And then even the white people, they just shoot them, they just kill them, because that's what fascism looks like. It was who said that fascism is not going to arrive on a doorstep with a gun or a tank. It's going to arrive with a cross and a false prophet. Well, there you go. There's your false prophet, who claims that he's a Christian, but yet he just literally admitted that he has not one time even read the Bible. Right? He's your boy. He's your pony. Like, how much longer are you going to be deceived by this guy? Like, if you're a MAGA, how much longer can you? I mean, is this something like that makes you happy when he comes out there and he's like talking nonsense about windmills and fucking George Washingtons and airports and just making fun of people? Like, okay, I get it. Sometimes joking around is fine, but he, like, literally every single day he picks a new victim and he makes fun of them. As the sitting president of the United States, who we expect that he's going to be ball, lowers himself to make fun of an individual here or there, calling reporters pigs. He's a pig. So that's what MAGA is invested in. They're invested into this psycho, this crazy person. And once you're invested that far, you can't help yourself. There's two ways out of this. One, you can just write it out till the end, which I'm sure many will, because many of them, you share his opinions and ideas, right? You share his racist opinions. You share his ideas that America is for white people and some fake Christians, Christian nationalism. So you will write this out till the end. And then when he dies, which is going to be in a few years because he's old, then you're going to be confused. You're going to be like the sheep without the shepherd. And then there's some of you that already have turned around and said, my pocketbook has been hit considerably by Donald Trump. And there's so many testimonials online of people who says, I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. I regret voting for Donald Trump because he did nothing but destroyed my business, destroyed my income. And so some of these people woke up when their pockets got hit, right? They didn't really care until their pockets got hit. And then others, they're not racist people. They're looking at all the racist things that he's been saying, all the way he's been treating the immigrants, the way he's been treating American citizens of color, and they're saying, this is not right. Those who read the Constitution and the Bible, they're like, come on, this is not how it works. And so they're turning away from him. And the only ones that are left, they're going to be stuck with him to the end, or the least educated, the most, what we call Christian, or they call themselves Christian, and those who simply don't give a damn. Anyway, you guys have a lovely Sunday. My walk is done. It's getting a little warmer outside.